He's doing it hard than others coming. And so texting in the middle. Yeah. He can't tell who it is, but he doesn't have any. When everyone's here, he doesn't. There's not as many. Yeah, there's not many people watching it. It's a live stream. Page 252, Higher Ground. Page 252. Everybody grab your songbook. I would feel a little bit froggy, so we may not sing all 4 verses. It's just a sinus thing, and all the pollen, all the trees are blooming. Here we go. Page 252, Higher Ground. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. 3rd verse. I want to live above the world, though Satan's darts at me are hurled. For faith has caught the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Stop right there. That's the last verse. Okay, here we go. I want you to look at the 2nd verse. It says, my heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. I've said dozens of times in church services that I don't want to live a ball humbug Christian life. I don't want to live a life that said, well, we can't do it. We can't do it. You know, God's not using us. God won't use us. And I miss the world type songs, or gloom, despair, agony on me type songs. I can't stand that kind of music. So I'm always looking for a higher ground. I'm pressing on, as the song says, for 40 years. It's been 40 years this year since Tammy and I got saved. And still, I feel like I've got higher ground to get to. Okay? Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Charlie, want to lead us in prayer? Amen. Go ahead and have a seat. A couple announcements. As far as we didn't say this as prayer requests, just to put things out there. For Patty, just keep them in your prayers when we're not here. For Patty and Bruce, for Tracy, for Annette to recover from her surgery. And her surgery went well. She is recovering, and it's been 2 weeks now. For Gary with his back problem, and hopefully we'll be able to have surgery soon as soon as Annette's healed up. And Larry Shamblin's uncle has coronavirus, so he's in the hospital. My understanding last night, if I got the prayer request right, he's in the hospital, and And Larry also has an aunt that has Alzheimer's or dementia. That and I don't know if it's the same side of the family. I don't know if it's husband wife on that same side of the family, but they're also within that family. So pray for those family members. Okay, so keep them in your prayers. Turn with me to Daniel. Excuse me, Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. We'll give you a minute to find it. Got it? Okay. We'll review just a little bit. Look up this way for a minute. We'll go review before we read this, okay? Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon. He's conquered the world, the known world at that time. He's brought people from other locations to Babylon to learn to be his counselors, or to learn his knowledge and his wisdom, the world's knowledge and wisdom. Included in that is Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And when pray turn this thing on. And when the King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and in his dream, he woke up. He couldn't remember anything, but it scared him. So he called his wise men and his counselors in to have them come in and tell him what his dream was. And he commanded them to tell him his dream, and they could not. And he said, "We'll kill you and tear your house down, and make a dunghill out of it." And so Daniel found out about it. He's included in those counselors in that group. So him, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego went and had a little prayer meeting about it. And he went into the king and said, "There is a God in heaven." Look at a couple of verses, chapter 2. Let's go ahead and read this. Chapter 2, verse 6. Nebuchadnezzar's talking to his counselors, and he said, Chaldeans, counselors, is some of them are very, very bad people, I guess. "But if you show me the dream and interpretation thereof, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and interpretation." And they said, "No one can tell you what you dreamed last night." Can anyone tell you what you dreamed last night? Can anyone know what Jerry dreamed about last night? That had something to do with cars or trucks, okay? It's putting new parts on a car, okay? Okay. Anyone know what Charlie dreamed about last night? School being let out until the end of the year. No. Okay. Okay, let's go on. Okay. Look at verse 10. Chapter 2, verse 10. The Chaldeans answered, "There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter." Nobody can do what this king's asked him to do. Look over chapter 2, verse 28. Daniel's now talking to the king. He's got an audience before the king. Verse 27, Daniel answered the presence of the king, said, "The secret which the king hath demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers, show unto the king." Nobody can do this. "But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days." Stop reading right there. So here's what we're going to get into tonight. We'll go through the dream. Because Daniel says to Nebuchadnezzar, God's told you what the future is going to be. This doesn't happen very often. I mean, God spoke to Abraham and told Abraham, "You will have children as your descendants be like the stars of heaven, sand on the sea." And he's told people stuff like that. But as far as telling your kingdom and the next kingdom and the next kingdom and the next kingdom and what it's going to be like, okay, that has not happened. So we're going to read. Look down verse 31. This is a short version, I guess, of Daniel telling the king what the dream was. "Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. The great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, and his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them in pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth." Stop reading right there. So Daniel says, here's the image, and this is what you saw in your dream last night. Now, someone came to you and said, if someone came to you, Jerry, and said, "This is what you dreamed last night," and they knew exactly what you dreamed, would it shock you, right? Even if you were asking for it, okay? I mean, I don't know if someone came to you and said, "This was your dream," and they told you details of your dream, would you be surprised by the dream? I mean, it's not like someone could read your mind and say, "Okay, most of them can't even read my own mind." Okay, here's the dream: the heads of gold, And Daniel has already told Nebuchadnezzar, this is what the future is going to be. This is the kingdoms. Okay, head of gold, the breast and the shoulder, the breast and the shoulders of silver, the belly and the thighs of brass, the legs of iron, and the feet of iron and clay. And in this, we don't do this. Daniel then tells the interpretation. Okay, verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art the king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, and power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. After thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and a third, that's the silver, and a third, the kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all things shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the miry clay, and as the 10 toes of the feet were part of iron, part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Stop reading right there. Because Nebuchadnezzar says, now you saw this, and he said, this is the dream you had, and here's the interpretation of your head. Okay. Looking into the future, nobody could tell what the kingdoms were. Okay? But we can look back at history now, which I love this, because this prediction was made when the first king, Nebuchadnezzar, was the king. And Daniel, because God's telling him what to say in the interpretation of the dream, is telling him what the next kingdom will be like, what the next kingdom will be like, and the one after that, and one after that. So the head of gold was Babylon. This is Nebuchadnezzar. The breast and the breast and the arms are of silver, which is the Medo-Persian Empire. And looking back through history, we can look through all this. The belly and the thighs of brass, which is Grecian Empire, Greece, and the legs of iron, which is Roman Empire, and the feet of iron and clay, which has not yet come. So we've not seen this 10-member nation. A few years back in recent history, when people said that we talk about the European Union having 10 nations in it, they said this is the last kingdom as prophesied in Daniel. But of course, it's kind of fallen apart since then. With the Brexit and everything's going on now. So you think, well, that wasn't it, but it looked like it could have been. Looking at the historical pictures of it, and then look and say, oh, it could be this nation, but it's not that nation. Okay. Anybody study history a little bit, and looking at these things and seeing that what nations rule. Okay. There's a video that my Uncle Bill sent me years ago. It's probably still on my computer somewhere that I saved it because it took the Middle East. It was probably 15 years ago maybe that he sent this to me, and it took the history of the world and showed what nations ruled, or what kingdom ruled over all these different nations, and it kind of moved from one side to another. One kingdom was bigger than another, smaller than another, but how many different nations have ruled this? Okay, in this. And there's other descriptions in Daniel, and there's other descriptions throughout the scriptures that tells us more about each one of these kingdoms. The symbols of a bear or a lion, different things, and the symbolic of each one of these nations. And we're kind of not going to get into that tonight, but then eventually, and this last kingdom has yet to be set up, as far as we know. That this last kingdom, that is like each kingdom was not as fine as the next one. Like you have gold, which is finest, and silver's not as rare, not as fine as the silver, and then brass, and on down to iron. Okay, each one is not as as nice as the one previous to it, but each one is stronger than the one before it, till you get the iron, which is the strongest. And then you get the last kingdom, which is yet to be set up, which is clay and iron mixed together. So it looks like it's strong, but it never completely goes together. Like just like with the European Union or whatever different national groups, like NATO or different organizations throughout the world that have joined together. All these nations are going to go rule together, and they're going to be one. But it doesn't really happen because they never really join as one. Okay, not like the United States being United States. All these nations are still seeking their own welfare, not everyone else's. Well, they're seeking welfare for the United States to get paid for everything, but they're seeking their own benefit, just like 10 toes would be looking out for themselves, made of brass, made of iron and clay, not really going together. Okay, which is not a good sign of strength. Okay, I want to look at like 3 different things on this. Okay, first is history. Which when I read the word history, I showed this. Someone showed me this 40 years ago, and it stuck with me. You take the word history and you divide it up and put an extra S in this. His story. It's God telling His story. As all of history is that even with what's going on today with coronavirus, and in some ways, to me, it's God's story. It is God's telling this story and allowing these things to happen. You think about there's a prediction that between 100,000 to 200,000 U.S. citizens could die from this virus. If you look back in the history, there was one night when God allowed 185,000 people to die, soldiers to die. I think it was the Syrian army, and just in one night, 185,000 died. Well, was that a plague that went through? No, it wasn't really a plague. That not like a corona, wasn't a virus thing that took over people. It was they woke up, a couple people woke up, and everybody else around them was dead. Okay, or the plagues of Egypt, and those things that happened. God allowed those things to happen. With this being God's story, chapter 4, verse 17 says, if you read this, because this is what Daniel keeps bringing back to Nebuchadnezzar. Chapter 4, verse 17. Strong prayer. Chapter 4, verse 17. Last part of the verse. This matter is by decree of the watchers and demanded by the word of the holy ones to the intent. This is why God allows things to happen. That the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever He will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. And God says this: I control the kingdoms all around the world, and I set this person over this kingdom. I set this person over this kingdom, and He uses the word the basis of men. They might not be the brightest man, they might be the most moral man, but I set this person up to lead this kingdom. Okay? If I read that right, and this is why I believe it and see it this way, that God is in control. And a lot of times we think it's all politics. Anybody like politics? Anybody listen to it 24 hours a day? Anybody get sick of it? Okay? You ever read the Psalm 19? It's a couple verses of Psalm 2 and Psalm 9 and 19 where God says, why do men want to attack me? Okay, but they do, and they will never realize that they are just men. They're not God, but they want to set themselves up. Okay, they want to rule. Okay, it's not politics. It's not world powers that rule everything. It's God who rules everything. He knows. He sets them up, and He takes them back down whenever it's time to take them down. In the world history, looking at it in that side of it, if we yield to Him, then it gives me great peace no matter what's going on, because I know He's in control. When the United States was attacked on 9/11, and people frantic, okay, with coronavirus and different things that have happened, or if you back up in the history of the 1918, whatever year it was, when a virus swept through America and killed a lot of people. If you look at it in the biblical sense, God can do whatever He wants, and He is in control. And if you worry about it, you can make yourself sick. I know people that are shaken by this. Okay, I mean they're worried. I know other people that are happy about this. Politics, politicians and news people that are happy about this because they'd love to see America's economy crash. Okay. when I look at this and look at it as God just writing the history, man, he already knows what's going to happen tomorrow, right? I was talking to a Christian this week, and I said, wouldn't this be a great time for the Lord to come back? While most Christians are sequestered at home, the world wouldn't even recognize us being gone for a while. Okay, but to me, it'd be a great time for him to come back. That's national history or the world history, and God being in control of it. But it's a personal thing with Nebuchadnezzar. Look at chapter 2, verse 37. Okay? Daniel's talking to Nebuchadnezzar. He said, Thou, O King of Kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom and power and strength and glory. You know, if you take this on a personal note, that everything you have in life, God's given it to you. Okay? If you think, well, I earned this on my own. There's a politician a couple of years ago who wanted to tell someone that, so it's the right way, but they look at a man that owns a business and said, you didn't build that. I mean, the politician is like, well, you owe everything you have to the government because we built this, we built the roads, we everything for you, so you didn't build your own business. But they have no idea. As politicians, they have no idea how many 20-hour days that guy worked just to build his business up. Okay, because I know a lot of people that are in business that are work. They do everything they can to build their business up. But in reality, if you look back at it, God gave them that opportunity. And Daniel was talking to Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar does not believe in God at this point. He will later on in the book. We'll understand this. We'll know when he gets there. Okay. The God of heaven has given thee a kingdom and power and everything you have. Okay, so don't be so foolish to think that you did this on your own. And Nebuchadnezzar probably had a hard time listening to Daniel, but how could he not listen to Daniel when Daniel just told him his dream that he had the night before, 2 nights before, in interpretation of them? But without him, we're all like the chaff that's going to be blown away. Whether the most powerful nations in the world or the most powerful people in the world. The future, next thing, the future's already written. God gives warnings on the pandemic's going on, or preparations for the pandemic, or whatever the different things that happen. The politicians right now are playing the blame game, and I was listening to, I had to drive like 15 hours yesterday, and when I'm driving, I'll listen to anything just to keep me awake, right? So I was listening to NPR. Anybody know what NPR is? Right? I know what that is, the radio program, National Public Radio. They're very liberal. They almost always interview the liberal politicians and lean that direction. Okay, but they had a writer on from the New York Times, if I remember right. They went through the list of the things that are missing in America to fight against this pandemic and say how we missed the opportunity to have more hospital beds, how we missed the opportunity to have more respirators, and how we missed the opportunity to have the masks, the medical masks that people were needing today. Okay, and it's kind of surprising that they even brought up these things that we had this opportunity to take care of this. But in reality, the future is already written. Your future and ours as a nation. Okay. Look at chapter. Look at verse 48. Chapter 2, verse 48. After Daniel tells the king everything that's going to happen, okay, in the future, has everything set up. It says, verse 48 says, Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Stop reading right there. If someone does what's right, and this comes back to me over and over and over again. If someone does what's right, almost always. Now, God may have a perfect plan that allows sickness, like for Lazarus to die or something like that. God has a perfect plan. We yield to His plan. But almost every time that someone stands up for right, God uses that person. We see them being blessed. It may not be in fortune like Daniel had here, being given great gifts. And it said in the first part of the verse, it says, Then the king made Daniel a great man. I don't think he already was. Okay? And not to gain anything. Okay? He didn't gain anything by the king. Okay. Here's the last part for tonight. Anybody has any questions, you can ask your questions or comments. God is working on the king. In chapter 2, verse 47, the king answered unto Daniel and said, Of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings, And a revealer of secrets sings us because reveal the secret. God is working on the king's heart. But it's going to be a long time before the king actually repents. Because in the next chapter, he goes, he's full of himself, has an image made, different thing, has another trial coming. Okay? A lot of times people go through something, and I'm going to use Nebuchadnezzar as a perfect illustration. God's given him something. He has given gifts above what anyone would ever deserve on this world. And he doesn't take advantage of the idea when Daniel comes in and tells him God's given this to you. So then he goes to the next phase of his life, forgets about God. It's all about him again. Okay? And God gives him an opportunity to repent, and God shows him himself. He sees the fourth man in the fire, and he's likened him to the Son of Man, or Son of God. He sees things happen. And a lot of times we want to give up on people like politicians or someone else in leadership. We want to give up on them. And God says, I'm still working on them. It's not going to be until Nebuchadnezzar loses his mind for a little while and gets it back that he actually truly repents. Okay? In all of this, I keep coming back to this idea that God is in control, whether it's national or personal, whether it's your family or our state or whatever it is. God is in control. If we yield to him, my Lord knows the way through the wilderness. All I have to do is follow. Yeah, my Lord knows the way through the wilderness. And all I have to do is follow. Strength for the day is mine all the way. And all that I need for tomorrow. All we have to do is just follow the path he gives us. Personally, as a church family, or as a nation. Okay. God's going to get the king there where he wants him to be. And there's more stories to come in the next few weeks. And God's going to get us where he wants us to be, no matter what it takes. Even like losing his mind, or hopefully we won't lose ours. Or going through a pandemic. Hopefully nobody in here will lose anybody through this thing. But the idea that he is in control should settle us, give us peace at all times. Any comments? Questions? Anybody worried? I'm not worried. I was talking to a customer last week. A lady at the bank, she orders a lot of stuff from me. And I said, you ready for the pandemic? She said, I'm ready as I'll ever be. She said, it's going to be better on the other side anyway, so it doesn't really matter here. I mean, she's kind of frustrated with work. I had one of those days at work, and she said, be better on the other side anyway. I ain't worried about a thing. I said, it'd be a good time for the Lord to come back. All right, let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Thank you that we know that you're in charge, not we ourselves. We know things happen. We make our own choices, and we make our own decisions, and you give us that opportunity. We make choices as a nation. Now, I hate to say I'm thankful for the pandemic, but you said in all things give thanks. I'm thankful that there's people that will get saved as a result of this, or that you have an opportunity to work in people's hearts as a result of this. And I pray that you will work in the hearts of those around us. I pray that you'll work through us to reach our neighbors with the gospel, even though we're not supposed to be out with other people and shaking hands and buddy-buddy with people at this time, but we can still go be a witness for Christ. Make us a light in this dark world with all that's going around. Use us, please, for your glory. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Thank you, dismissed.